Hey, we gotta bring in our special guest on the show, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Shout out to Shanahan cutting people. I do have it on good authority that he will punch a penguin if you need to. You gotta watch that guy. Let's bring into the show, ladies and gentlemen, now David Kaplan. The Cap Man is in the building. Cappy, teammate over at ESPN. We can't have one day without some kind of madness going on. I'm sure that you've heard the Weeder report. You talked about it earlier. What are your thoughts when you see that?
I mean, look, if Ryan Poles truly thought that Matt Eberflus was the right guy, that's concerning. I can't deny that fact. Again, is Dan accurate? I love Dan. He does a great job. I have no reason to doubt what he's saying, but I do know that Flus did not want the guy in Washington. Why am I blanking on his name?
Dan Quinn.
No. Cliff Kingsbury. He did not want Kingsbury, too big a personality, and he wanted Waldron. And the Bears' big mistake was they allowed Trace Armstrong to basically dictate everything. Getsy, Waldron, Poles, Eberflus. So this was a Trace Armstrong put this whole thing together. And again, I think he allowed himself as a young GM to be led by his agent, who's a really good agent, has a lot of good clients. And if he wanted to keep him, I don't believe the Bears would have allowed him to fire Eberflus after last season. I don't believe that. Did he want to hire him? Maybe. But when you go to the owner and want to fire him after New England and you're told no, that answers that question for me.
Cap, when you hear this level of dysfunction at the end of a season, of course it's a bad season, but realistically speaking, it is not the end of the world moving forward. You feel like you've got the quarterback. You feel like things are still kind of trending towards a good direction if you can get these offensive and defensive lines fixed. But when you hear the sniping between that seems to be coming out of Hallis Hall, the unhappiness from Ryan Poles in the building with how the structure is now and things like that. Does it seem like we're heading towards a world where Ryan Poles is not going to be the guy moving forward, where you're going to end up, if he goes parts ways, like Sylvie was saying earlier this week, at the end of this season or at the end of this contract, he's kind of done?
Well, I don't know how many years he's got. If he has a 4-year deal, he's in his third season, he's got 1 year. If he's got a 5-year deal, if they're going to move on from him at the end of 5 years, then the team is going to have 2 more bad years coming. Because if they win next year and the year after, you wouldn't get rid of your general manager. So we've got a lot to, sit back and process and watch. But look, if Dan Wiederer's report is accurate, it's more than a little concerning, because Dan Dockich, who's a dear friend of mine, he's a sportscaster on Outkick, sportscaster in Indianapolis. Dan was on our station, I believe on Waddle and Sylvie, but I talked to him off the air, and I was a guest on his show multiple times in Indy, where he said, I know for a fact that Frank Reich and Chris Ballard were going to fire Eberflus at the end of that season if the Bears hadn't hired him. And the fact that the Bears brought him in as the head coach, pretty embarrassing, pretty indicting. And on top of all of it, when I heard the quote, and I think it was from Ryan, but it might have been George, where they said, 20 minutes in, we knew that was the guy. I've interviewed this dude how many times? For 2 years.
Yeah.
He's absolutely horrific in that setting.
Yeah.
Horrific. He may be a smart defensive mind. He may be a good person. In that setting, there is nothing he could have said in that office, in that interview, that you would go, 20 minutes, that's the guy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a joke when you hear some of the stuff. Just the fact that we're even at this point, that we had to get to another season of Matt Eberflus. I'll ask you this as we keep this thing, try and keep this ship on track. Do you trust Ryan Poles' decision-making moving forward? I mean, like, it's tough for me if this is true, right? If Poles did decide, hey, we're going in the next season, I'm holding on to Matt Eberflus. I think he's the guy. Do you trust him to pick the next head coach that's going to lead Caleb Williams? And do you trust his judgment if that goes south, if that goes sour, if that gets ugly, to make the right decision and move on from a guy?
It's a really good question, Pat. I trust him because I believe that they would not allow him to eat the last 3 years of the Eberflus contract. They would not allow him to move on after the New England game. If Ryan didn't want to fire him at all, and this was above his pay grade, and Kevin Warren made that call, and if Ryan thinks this dude should still be the coach here, yeah, that would concern me greatly, greatly. I don't believe that. I do think Caleb is the right guy. He's going to end this season, if he stays healthy and plays the last 4 games reasonably well,
yeah,
he's going to have basically the best numbers in the history of the franchise at quarterback. So let's let it all play out. Let's see what it is. But do they have the guts to hire Mike Vrabel? Because I talked to someone today who played for Vrabel, who knows the Bears intimately well, and he said Mike Vrabel is exactly what is needed in that locker room. It's not about, well, that dude coaches offense, we need an offense. No. He said we need a culture change, and that's the guy.
So that's your number 1, Cap?
Oh, it's not even close.
Who will be your number 2 in case they don't go for Vrabel?
I mean, I want an existing somebody, a head coach, somebody who's been a head coach. I talked to Brian Flores. I'd obviously talked to Ben Johnson, but I got to find someone who's got head coaching experience. I don't want flavor of the day. Ben Johnson may be the next Sean McVay. He also might be the next, Arthur Smith, Matt Nagy. You can find a billion really good coordinators, Zach Taylor, and none of these guys work out. So, I want someone who's a proven head coach, and I want someone who's a bit of an a-hole in the locker room is holding people accountable. That's what's needed.
We definitely need that, Cap. First of all, really love talking to you, man. Jordan JC, pleasure speaking with you.
Good to talk with you,
man. But my question to you is, since it seems like you don't necessarily have Poles on the hot seat right now at this moment, outside of the head coach search, what would put him on the hot seat for you going forward? Because for me, I feel like this offseason is a big time decision making for the GM going forward, because I feel like Ryan Poles has to hit on the issues that are that need to be addressed on this team, whether it be the O-line protection, whether it be maybe on the other side of the trenches with the edge rusher, whatever the case may be. I think that this offseason is important for him to get right. Do you think that has to be right for him to kind of retain his job or keep the faith going for Bears fans?
100%. If he does not put significant assets into fixing his lousy offensive line, you need a right guard, you need a better center, you need a left tackle at the very least. And I'm not sure I'm extending Tevin Jenkins because I don't think the dude's all in. He's always banged up. So that could be 4 that you might need. If you tell me that Ryan Bates is going to eventually get healthy and he'll play one of the guard spots, look, you get in this world what you pay for. You cannot buy a $128,000 house and think you're going to be living in Lake Forest in a mansion. It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
You can't buy a smart car and go, I'm entering that in the Indy 500. You get what you pay for. Coleman Shelton, from what Olin Kreutz has told me and others, brilliant in terms of processing football, recognizing fronts and defenses and everything else. But he makes $3 million on a 1-year deal. Creed Humphrey or some of the others, Jason Kelsey when he played, those guys made between $18 and $20 million. So it's not Coleman Shelton's fault that he's a 1-year, $3 million guy that the Rams got rid of. It's Ryan Poles' fault for thinking that was good enough at center with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. That's and that's me and you had that conversation on the Chicago Bears podcast, right? The biggest concern for me with Ryan Poles' decision making is, yes, I do believe like you said, he was chasing greatness by trying to go after Caleb Williams, get him Roma Dunes. They were going to get him Keenan. He's got all these weapons. But I really do believe he thought he was Jesus Christ with a football and that the offensive line doesn't matter. And I think we're seeing this season now, and I hope that Bears fans can see it outside of this moment in Chicago. C.J. Stroud's not the same quarterback. Why? He's getting his head taken off almost as much as Caleb Williams. Meanwhile, on the flip side of this, we got a dude up north in Sam Darnold who I'm pretty sure most people were in belief that he was done playing football in the NFL as a starter. And now the Vikings may have to make a tough decision on, we just drafted this kid. We got to keep Sam Darnold around, though, because he's playing that well. Like, for me, Ryan Poles ignoring the offensive line, Cap, is his biggest sin. And I don't know if it's one that even long-term I feel comfortable with him overcoming, because how can you feel comfortable with the lineman he's going to bring in? He's brought in one maybe good offensive lineman in Darnold Wright.
So yeah, all fair criticisms, all completely valid criticisms, Pat. The thing is, I think he made a great trade with Carolina. I do think Kyler Gordon's a really good football player. Brisker, if he can get over his concussion issues, a really good football player. Darnell Wright, you mentioned, but I don't know if Karan Amagaji can play. I have no idea.
I'll tell you what, he's built a heck of a lot like Braxton Jones, Cap. every time I'm standing at training camp or at practice watching him, I'm like, his legs are as big as mine. I got problems with that. I'm concerned.
Yeah, and they're all built like Ryan Poles. So,
oh no,
come on, Cap. Come on. You saw my rant, Cap. You saw me losing my mind. Stop drafting dudes that play like you. Like that's my biggest thing.
And again, I'm a Poles backer. I like Ryan a lot.
I do too.
You know, guys who play on that team who I do some work with have said, that dude. Everybody wants to play for that guy. He's good at his job. But when you leave your offensive line neglected to the degree that he did, and you misevaluate, if Dan's article is accurate, misevaluate Matt Eberflus to the level that he misevaluated him. Like, I'm not good in math. I wasn't good in science. I was a really good writer. Obviously, I could speak. But one quality that the good Lord gave me, I could tell you in like 5 minutes if a dude has got it.
Yeah.
I can absolutely. When I scouted in the NBA, I can walk in a gym and go, nope, he doesn't have it. There are very few that have it. Matt Eberflus is as far from having it as any human being alive. That's a fact.
Yeah, right.
That is a fact. You know, I'm not trying to get personal with the man. I'm sure if I had a sister and she said I married Matt Eberflus, I'd be like, oh, really good dude. Nice guy.
Yeah.
But as a leader of men, as a guy holding people accountable, as a, ass-kicking football coach, stop yourself. Terrible. And if Ryan truly sat in the office and went, that's the dude, after 20 minutes, that guy?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm terrified who he's going to hire next.
I got a question. Just maybe a little bit of devil's advocate. So, do you think that possibly, I've said this on our show a number of times, do we think that Poles might have sacrificed the line to get, he wanted Caleb, drafting Rome. Like, I personally would have rather went another direction at 9. Actually, I wanted a defensive end and a lineman in the draft.
Jared Verse was
you wanted Jared.
I wanted Jared, and I wanted to get another lineman. If we could move and make a move to get a second round lineman. But do you think that he was setting up as he's building this team to get this draft for linemen? Do you think that he's going down that path, or do you think
this draft, meaning the 25 draft?
Yes, setting up for 25.
No, I don't think he was looking that far ahead. I think he truly takes the highest rated guy on his board, and he went probably not going to re-sign Keenan Allen. DJ's a very good player. He's not had a good year at all.
He's been bad.
Yeah.
But these people last year that were coming at me on the show when I said, the way he's playing, he's a top 12 receiver, and I had all these idiots calling in going, what do you mean top 12? He's a top 5 receiver. No, stop yourself. He's not Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill. I mean, just start going through all the dudes in the league. And this year, if you go look at the analytics of PFF, he's ranked like 32nd the way he's playing.
Yeah.
But let's assume he's a 1A guy. Keenan Allen's gone. Where are you getting a 1? That's why he took Rome Odunze, who I do think is going to be his 1. That's fine. But what he should have done is, I believe it was 9 offensive linemen went after Rome Odunze in the first round of the draft. You can go check my math. I think it's 9. Why would you not take the Carolina pick and move back into the first round and get yourself a first-round graded lineman?
Well, do we also think that maybe we don't know what everyone's board is like? Maybe there's just because linemen were there doesn't mean that they were graded, and he might have missed. We think.
Well, I think that's the part
did.
that is concerning.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at Jackson Powers Johnson and think that kid's not going to be able to play football moving forward,
Right?
That has me concerned about your evaluation process.
Right.
Fair, absolutely fair.
Yeah.
I got one more question for you, Cap. With everything going on, we're talking about head coach searches, right? We know the top candidates that potentially the Bears are looking at on offensive side and the defensive side. But let's just say we got the guy already in the building. I know I joke about this with the team here all the time. I call Thomas Brown Mike Tomlin 2.0 because that's how he comes off to me. He has a really good aura about himself. He's disciplined. He has that leader of men mentality. You know, he seems like he's that kind of coach. Do you think that if they would just so happen to win the next 4 games, are you really kind of keeping Thomas Brown in mind as retaining that position and actually becoming the head coach moving forward?
Less than 0 chance.
Oh man. No.
I mean, you kidding me? Dude,
No,
if he had gone 5-0, I wouldn't have given him the job.
No, we had to put credits.
That, in my opinion, that is a micro look at the moment. I want a macro look. You want me to take the greatest quarterback prospect the Bears have ever had. When the season ends, he just might have the best single season in the history of the franchise by yards, by rating. And you want me to trust him to a dude who got 1 year in Carolina, got fired, interviewed for the OC job, didn't get it, then came in here, and the offense has not been that much better, despite what everyone wants to say. They had 0 points at half on Thanksgiving. They were horrific against San Francisco. A lot of this stuff against Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit in the second half, a lot of it came off platform by Caleb playing hero ball and making magnificent throws like against Minnesota, I think it was, down the right sideline, dropping a throw in the bucket to DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. You want me to trust Caleb Williams, and I've got 3 years to try and win, and I'm going up against LaFleur, O'Connell, and Campbell, and I'm getting Thomas Brown? Not an effing chance.
All right. Well, you just hurt my feelings for the rest of the year. I'm just going to let you know that. No, it's okay. No, realistically, I think we should move forward. I'm not going to lie. I think we should move
33
forward.
to 13 get you there? Is that what got you there?
Yeah, the last game killed all my hopes. It's okay.
And he's a good guy. And maybe he has a role on the staff. Maybe he doesn't. Head coach? No shot.
No shot. I love it.
Cap, we appreciate you taking the time out and coming on the show, man. We got a game coming up this Monday. What are you expecting to see this Monday?
An ass kicking, unfortunately. And to be honest with you, I fully hope that the Bears lose out. I do. Because they have like none of the tiebreakers because of strength of schedule.
Yeah.
And so if they were to find a way to upset one of these teams they have left, they could fall as low as 13 with 1 win.
Yeah.
I want them picking like 5th. I want who's the Joe Alt of this draft? I want that guy starting for me.
Well, you might be able to get him where we're sitting right now. Is that Will? What we say? Will Campbell, right?
From
LSU.
Will Campbell from LSU.
Oh yeah,
that's 9 right now.
That's who I want. That's who I want. Give me a Will Campbell from LSU.
Get me a starting left tackle. I got 2 second-round picks. Get me a center and maybe a 3 technique or an edge.
Yeah, I love it. Cappy, we appreciate you taking the time out. Clap it up for David Kaplan, everybody in the chat.
Thanks, man.
Love you, I'm a big fan of you.
Thank you. Love you, man. Big fans over here, too.
Yes, sir.
You got it. I'm going to eat dinner with my grandkids. I just got done playing in some little kids park, like an indoor kids thing, and I'm done.
Are you sore? A little sore?
Holy cow! He's going to be 4. He's like, he's like an animal that just zoom. I'm like, dude, slow down. I got to catch up.
Was it because I took my daughter to this. My daughter is right around your grandson's age. Was it the bouncy house thing?
No, not a bouncy house. It's like it's an indoor like climbing thing with a huge slide. It was amazingly cool.
Like gizmos.
Those are the moments where you're like, where was this when I was a kid?
We didn't have any of that. My parents had no idea. We would get on our bike in the morning. We would eat a bowl of Frosted Flakes, get on our bike, go to the park, play tackle football without equipment, lob league where you couldn't throw a fastball. Then we just roll home, grab a bologna sandwich on Wonder Bread, ride back to the park. And then I knew at 7 o'clock it's going to be dinner time. Come back. We didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have anybody tracking me with an Apple Watch.
Yeah, it is a very different world. I think about even like we had cell phones, but like even that, like my parents, if they saw me, they were like, "You're in the house, like, don't let me see you in the summer."
Well, I'm way older than you guys. I rode to the park every day. My hands were like this, no hands on the bike, and bike helmets. They didn't even sell bike helmets.
I still can't do that. I ain't gonna lie.
That's how we grew up.
My mom's car did not have seatbelts in the back seat.
It explains a lot, actually. She hit the brakes on you a couple times, didn't she?
No question about it.
Love you, Cappy. Enjoy dinner. Enjoy the great kids, man.
See you.
See ya. David Kaplan, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely love having him on the show.
Nice.
Yeah, by the way,
that was a treat.
400 and 500.
Over 400 in the chat. Over 500 in the chat. 500.